Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to commend Mr. President, President Tinubu, and also commend the Senate for the time we laid the nominee to expand our tax net. My questions are very simple to you. You can see, I also want to commend the Minister of Finance we are going to be working with. He's one of the ministers. When you invite him to this Senate, he will be there 10 minutes to time to wait for you to come. I hope you will abide by that. My questions are simple. Inflation has gone from 24% to 15%. Food inflation has gone from 21% to 8%. And the capacity utilization of industries are stagnant. Manufacturers are not selling goods in the warehouse. And the ministry, we see either Ministry of Agriculture or Finance importing wheat or something to make rice, paddy for rice. We are not encouraging our farmers to go back to farm, and we cannot do. Senator Blai was talking here. What President Tinubu have done a lot to grow this economy. What we are lacking now is growth. People must come out and fight. You people who are technocrats, everything is not about president. People who are working with the president should stand up and work with him and show how the economy can get headway to growth. How are you going to do this that manufacturers will regain confidence of manufacturing of their goods to the Nigerian market? What are you going to do for manufacturers who are today not exporting? They are not even servicing the local market because of capacity utilization is down and imports are down. Raw materials are not coming from the bush. I might know you say, no, that is security. How are you going to work to coordinate with the coordinating Minister of Economy to make sure that we come on track? We cannot be speaking all this grammar without actual growth on the economy. We'll be wasting our time. President has stabilized foreign exchange. President has stabilized fuel, although you can see what Iran is doing. We must also see a way we can build a valve in that if Iran or US is sneezing, Nigeria will not be sneezing. We'll be laughing if need be. But laughing on people dying is not possible. But we'll laugh on our economy. What are you going to do to help President Tinubu to continue building and putting growth on the economy? This is my question to you.
Thank you.
I am very happy you are appointed, and I'm happy you are a very good candidate. Nobody can doubt that. I've known you for a long time, and you will do very well to support the main minister there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, my name is Senator Victor Ume, OFR. I represent Anambra Central Senatorial District. Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, I want to congratulate you for appearing before us as the Minister of Finance, Minister of State for Finance designate. I encountered you in a number of public forum debates on tax reform bill, and you recall my contributions during those debates. I'm very pleased with your nomination because you are a square peg in a square hole. I welcome that with relief. My question is on the ease of doing business with government of Nigeria. Ease of doing business. You know that for things to go well and for the government to enjoy favorable rating, the ease of doing business is a very important factor. Any person who does business with government should be able to get paid. Should be able to get paid. He's 50 years, Mr. President. 50 years old. Very strong man. Okay. So my concern is on the ease of doing business with government of Nigeria. My colleagues have spoken, particularly the Chief Whip of the Senate, on the issue of budget implementation. But the particular concern I have is when somebody does business with government, as the Minister of State for Finance, how will we bring confidence to bear in that transaction, that somebody who has performed will get his money on time as soon as he discharges his responsibility in the contract. So as Minister of State for Finance, how are you going to guide this process so that that confidence level will be built again, that if you do your business with government, government will pay you as soon as you discharge your own part of the agreement or the contract? Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm very happy, Mr. President, that you finally recognized me today.
Finally.
Yes, I've been raising my hand, so I'm happy, very happy with you in the.
My eye did not catch you. Thank
and you got me at the right time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that the Southeast will not be marginalized.
I just want to thank you, Mr. Senate President. Sometimes you do uncommon things. You have allowed us to ask questions to this nominee. And Nigerians will see that we're asking him questions. Because this nominee is capable. It's not, most times when you bring a capable nominee, you just ask him to take a bow and go. You have stopped all those. I want to commend you, Mr. Senate President, for giving us this opportunity. And also, I want to thank Mr. President. This is about the first time a ministerial nominee is being sent to us with the portfolio of his office. So I want to commend Mr. President. This is a novelty, and I hope it will continue, because now we know the type of questions to ask him. Nobody will ask him questions about health now, or about petroleum. You know where the money is going to. So that's why you can see all the questions are tailored. So I will just take one brief question. The issue of capital gain tax has become a problem in our capital market. It used to be 10%, but it has been moved to 30% for a gain of 10 million. So if you make a gain of 10 million and above, and you are taking the money out, you pay a tax of 30%. That is high. It's discouraging foreign investors from coming in. The global average of capital gain tax on shares and stock all over the world is between 15% and 20%. Why is our own 30%? This is the right person to answer the question. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I've taken all the notes. A lot of the comments and the advice are issues that we'll take forward with all seriousness. So I'll spend the few minutes that I have to answer some of the questions, starting with the last one. So the last question is about capital gains tax on the capital market. And what we have done seems to not be well understood by lots of the players. So what we have done is we created categories of investors. Category 1 is where you have like 99% of the investors who don't have portfolio where they can sell up to 150 million naira a year. So anybody who sells up to 150 million naira a year with gains no more than 10 million pays no capital gains tax at all. If they exceed those thresholds of either more than 150 million or more than 10 million naira gain, they have another exemption, which is just reinvest. You buy the shares of X, you put it in the shares of Y. Why did we do that? One of the most fundamental attributes for a capital market, Nigeria needs a capital market that can grow to about $1 trillion because we need it to fund our development, private sector and public sector, like the size of South African market. One of the most fundamental attributes for a capital market is liquidity. So you need activity so that when you buy, you want to sell, you are not stuck there. And one way to create that is to incentivize reinvestment so that that liquidity will be there. So that was the reason we brought that. Essentially, everyone, including foreign portfolio investors with hundreds of millions of dollars, are entitled to total tax exemption. It's just that we attach a condition to it to say, please reinvest. If you are not reinvesting, the remaining 99% of investors are people just trying to invest. We have between 60 to 90 billion dollars that is invested by Nigerians in virtual currencies, virtual assets. These people don't invest $1 million. It's $50 here, $200 here. We want that to be attracted to the capital market without any incident of tax, no conditions attached. So we are confident that this policy will help the Nigerian market. We're discussing with the stakeholders because we know no law is perfect. It will be arrogant for us to think that the law is perfect. We'll use data, and as the need arises, we'll come back to the National Assembly with finance bill to make corrections as we go along. The other issues that were common from many of the questions, which are also critical, one of it is manufacturing and creating jobs and issues around import substitution. Incidentally, we've done some work in this area. We've spent enormous amount of time with Manufacturers Association of Nigeria and their members. One of the things we identify is that our fiscal policy is not properly aligned with the goal of industrialization. And I'll just give one example. We did an analysis and we found that the tariffs when you import raw materials and intermediate product, the tariff is higher in most cases. The tariff is higher in most cases than the tariff on the finished product. In fact, there was a gentleman who came to one of our sessions and said, all these things you are saying is nice, and he showed me a document, gave me a copy. He said, this is what I produce. Duty is 5%. I need some raw materials to produce it, it's 15%. And he asked me a simple question, do you want us to continue to produce in Nigeria? So those issues, I can give the assurance that working with the team, we will look at them so that we align our fiscal policy with our aspiration of industrialization and import substitution. There's also the question and comment that is very important around the interplay between the monetary policy and the fiscal policy. Particularly, how do you make it, trying to avoid complex stuff, to make it counter-cyclical. If you are tight on monetary, how do you adjust it from the fiscal side so that you don't shock the economy? And some of these measures is also tied to spending, which is one of the questions that has been asked. You can be intentional in making sure that your spending is to drive this inflationary growth. When you spend money on infrastructure, for example, you accomplish so many things at the same time. Imagine you are building roads. You cut the time for travel and the cost for travel, including the cost of logistics. But you're also creating jobs because people are working on those construction work, they're feeding their family, and they're paying taxes. And then at the same time, you improve the quality of life, and more importantly, you can demonstrate to the people that the taxes you're paying is working for you. We believe, even though this has been a big challenge for our country, we think we can turn it around to an opportunity and build forward. The other one I want to address is the comment around even the efficiency of spending. And I do agree, we can be more efficient. One thing I've observed myself is that we have not truly implemented a zero-based budgeting. So we just build on inefficiency. So I did 10 billion last year, I want it to be 12 next year. And we're not taking a step back to ask questions, do you actually need 10 billion? So that on recurrent and the other expenses that are not exactly to do with the infrastructure, we can gain efficiency. There was a particular comment on VAT, and referring to some of my comments about how much MTN paid. I think it was simply selling to Wadada. But the clarification is important, which is that the data that I shared, I think was one of the town hall meetings, was the amount the MTN paid for that month. And it was a accumulation of, there's this thing that was introduced around 23-24. We call it withholding VAT. So we found out that many small businesses, they will invoice you with VAT, and they don't understand that they're supposed to remit it to the government. They collect the VAT and they just spend it. By the time you go and do an audit and you say you're away, they can't find the money. So government then decided that big players who have a lot of these suppliers, like MTN, some banks, should, when they send invoice to MTN, they shouldn't pay the VAT to that person. They should withhold the VAT and remit to the government. So the amount you see credited to MTN as their VAT is not really their VAT alone. So it includes the VAT on what they are doing, their own services, and the VAT on their suppliers. So just to clarify that. There's another point as well that I think is important around the distinguished senator had said that how do we stabilize the price of petroleum products. And the point I was making before, I'm aware of the forward contract. What I'm suggesting is forward to local refiners. So the person who is refining, Dangote Refinery says, I need to think about replacement cost. If I have to buy one barrel at $120, $100, I need to adjust the cost before that cost arrives. And that impact, unfortunately, when those prices go up, they have a ripple effect on other costs. When they start coming down, some of those costs don't come down back. So there's merit in ensuring there's stability. If we forward sell to local refiners under their understanding that we're giving you this at this future rate, you mustn't adjust your price because prices are going up elsewhere. That's not your business. And the advantage to the government also is, if price of crude oil goes down, government is protected for its budget. So I believe it's something that can be explored. I think the last thing I want to mention, like I said, we've noted all the points. We're grateful for the advice and the input, and we look forward to more engagement. I promise the Senate and the National Assembly that anytime you call, I'll show up. Because it's something I have done in the tax reform, even in difficult circumstances. We never hesitated to show up. We think that's what public service is about. So the last one I want to talk about is this payment to contractors. It also came up several times. And I think that beyond ensuring that as a government we can be trusted, you ask me to go and do something, you say it's 1 billion. Maybe you give me 200 million, I borrow money to complete it, I now have to beg you for years to be paid. It creates a lot of damage. And I'll tell you, we also pay what I call the trust deficit premium. What that person will do if they ever work for government again is a 1 billion project, they'll say it's 2, because they need to keep financing the fact that we will not pay on time, and they are paying interest at 30%, they will build it into it, which means if we can be more deliberate in saying this is the budget, this is the revenue, beyond the revenue, this is the cash planning. And based on the cash, if you know the cash won't come on time and you're unable to borrow, then don't start the project. When you start the project, pay on time, and you start finding out that even the cost of many of these projects will come down. One of the major reasons why government will build a road and it will be 10 billion, and private sector will build and it will be 6 billion, is this particular reason. So I take it as a priority issue to work with the team to find solutions to it. It can't be that it's impossible to solve it, because there are countries around the world where you rather work for government than even the private sector because it's the sovereign. But in Nigeria, sometimes this can be a challenge. So, Mr. President, distinguished senators, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to have this engagement with the Senate. And of course, if you approve and confirm my nomination, I look forward to more engagement. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. Our nominee is Taiwo Oyedele. And I also congratulate the president. Your intellect is never